What's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and today doing an Eldlich Tistina deck profile. So I'm really excited to do this for you guys because this deck is actually suggested to me by one of my patrons, Gloomba. And this deck is an extremely fun deck to play with just how well your Eldlich and Tistina cards work together. With your Eldlich cards being able to control the board and your Tistina cards flipping your opponent's cards face down. So without further ado guys, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Hit the bell there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon in the description below for all those awesome rewards, like getting your name description in a single video, getting assigned cards in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month to your Patreon. And definitely give Gloomba some love down in the comments down below for suggesting such an awesome deck. So let's get straight on into this one, guys. So first off, we're going to be playing 2 copies of Crystal God Tistina. This card is an amazing 2-of boss monster that has a super simple ability that during your main phase, you can change as many monsters that your opponent controls as possible to face down defense position, then send all face-up cards that your opponent controls to the graveyard, which is a great ability for this card to have because it's going to just deal with your opponent's field and force them to flip their cards face down. And the really cool thing about this card is your link monsters cannot be flipped face down, so this card actually will just send them to the graveyard, which is a great ability for this card to have. This card is also super easy to summon to your side of the field because all you have to do is have your Tistina field spell to be able to summon out this card, which is a great way to actually put this card on the field. We then play 3 copies of Demigod of the Tistina. This card is an awesome 3-of boss monster in the deck because if you control a Tistina card, you can just special summon this card from your hand for free, then add a Tistina spell or trap card from your deck to your hand, which is an awesome effect for this card to have. Also, during your opponent's turn, if you control a copy of Crystal God Tistina, then quick effect, you can use the same ability that your Crystal God has by flipping all of your opponent's cards face down, and then using the ability that if there's any more face up, you send them to the graveyard, which is a great ability for this card to have to be able to use during the opponent's turn to disrupt your opponent's plays. We then play 3 copies of Sentinel of the Tistina. Sentinel is an amazing normal summon in this deck and one of the best normal summons we have in the build, but this card can also special summon itself to your side of the field, because it has the ability, if this card is in your hand or graveyard and you control a light Tistina monster, you can special summon this card, which is a great ability to be able to do because this card can be used every single turn, which is a really cool ability. It also has the ability that if this card is on your side of the field, you can actually target one Tistina monster or a face down card that you control, destroy it, and then add a Tistina card from your deck to your hand, which is an awesome ability to get to any Tistina card that you need, especially since when you pop this card, if you control a copy of either Crystal God or Demigod, you can just special summon this card back from the graveyard to your side of the field. We then play 2 copies of Hound of the Tistina. This card is an awesome 2-of in the deck, but you really only need 2 copies of this card. It shares the effect like your copy of Sentinel that it can special summon itself back from the graveyard or from your hand if you control a light Tistina card, but it also has a really cool ability that Tistina monsters that you control can attack directly while your opponent controls a face down defense position monster, making it super easy to OTK your opponent, which is just absolutely amazing. We then play 2 copies of Eldlich the Golden Lord. This card is a definite 2-of in the build, and it's just an amazing card because it can spot remove cards and also bring itself back from the graveyard as a 3,500 attack point monster, which is absolutely crazy. You really only need 2 copies of this card because we have a bunch of ways to be able to get to this card in the deck. We then play 2 copies of Tower of the Necro World. This card is an amazing new card that we just got out of Duelist Nexus, and this card is really good to extend your plays because if you control a level 10 monster, you can special summon this card from your hand, which is a great ability to help you go in for different XZ plays, especially since your copies of Eldlich the Golden Lord, Crystal God, and Demigod are all level 10, making this card just a great extender to make rank 10 plays. We then play 3 copies of Ash Blossom. Ash Blossom's a definite 3-of in the deck just to stop your opponent from touching the deck, and it's one of the most powerful hand traps in the game. So that's it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to start off with a single copy of Terraforming. Terraforming is really good to be able to get to our Tistina field spell. We then play a single copy of Foolish Burial. Foolish Burial is great because your low-level Tistina monsters can bring themselves back from the graveyard to your side of the field, which is a really cool thing about themselves, and you can also bring back your copy of Eldlich the Golden Gucci Lord back to your side of the field. We then play 2 copies of Cursed Eldland. Cursed Eldland helps out a lot in this deck, but you want to out this card extremely quickly and get it off your field with your copy of your Eldlich the Golden Lord, because you cannot declare attacks except with zombie monsters while this card is on the field, which is why I just play 2 copies of this card in the deck. But it's super easy to out because just by paying 800 life points, you can add a copy of an Eldlich monster or a golden land card from your deck to your hand, which is a great ability to be able to just add your copy of your Eldlich the Golden Lord from your deck to your hand. Then out this card with your copy of your Eldlich, which is really cool because if this card is sent from the field to the graveyard, you can actually send an Eldlich monster or a golden land spell trap from your deck to the grave, which is a great ability just to out this card and then be able to get basically 2 cards working, which is really cool. We then play 3 copies of the new Draw spell. This card is amazing in this deck because you play so many different level 10 monsters, and this card is basically like trade in for level 10s, which is really cool to be able to draw 2 cards with this particular card, especially with the amount of level 10s we're playing in the deck. It's super easy to get to them, and this card just helps you draw 2 cards. We then play 3 copies of Divine Domain Tistina. This card is really cool in the deck because it actually helps you summon out your copy of your Crystal God, because it has the ability that during your main phase, you can send a Tistina monster from your deck to the graveyard. Then, if your opponent controls 3 or more face-up cards, you can special summon Crystal God Tistina from your hand or deck, which is a great ability just to instantly get your copy of your Crystal God on your side of the field. And why don't we just play 2 copies of Crystal God in the deck, because it's so easy to get to with this card. This card also has a great ability. If this card is in your field spell zone, is destroyed by your opponent's card effect, then you can special summon a Tistina monster from your deck or your graveyard, which is a great ability that either your opponent leaves this card on the field and you special summon out Crystal God, or they pop this card and you summon out Crystal God. Regardless, this card is going to help you get to your copy of Crystal God extremely easily. We then play 3 copies of Breath of the Tistina. Breath of the Tistina is a really cool 3-of in the deck because it gives you an additional normal summon of a Tistina monster during your turn, which is a really cool ability for this card to have. It also lets you target a face-up monster that you control, or if you control a light Tistina monster, you can target a face-up monster on the field instead, and change that monster to face-down defense position, then add a Tistina card from your deck to your hand, which is a really cool ability for this card to have, to be able to just basically Book of Moon a card on the field, and then add any Tistina card that you need from your deck to your hand, making this card a definite 3-of in the build. Even though we can get to it so easy, it's just really, really powerful. So that's it for these spells, guys. Let's get into the traps. So for the traps, we're going to start off with 3 copies of Infinite Impermanence. Impermanence is a definite 3-of in the deck just to stop your opponent's monster effects, while also setting this card to your side of the field and locking down entire columns of spells and traps, which is just really good about this card. We then play 3 copies of Elixir of Scarlet Sanguine. This card is also a definite 3-of in the deck and just basically gives us a free special summon of one of our Eldlich monsters from our deck or our graveyard, which is a really cool ability for this card to have. The only downside of this card is you always want to activate it during your opponent's turn, because it has the ability for the rest of the turn. After this card resolves, you cannot special summon monsters except for zombie monsters. So you want to summon out your Tistina monsters during your turn and summon out your copy of Eldlich the Golden Lord off of this card during your opponent's turn, which is the only restriction that the deck really has outside of your copy of Cursed Eldland. This card also has a really cool ability that you can manage this card from your graveyard to set a golden land spell or trap card directly from your deck to your side of the field, which is a great ability to get to your copy of Huakero or Conquistador. We then play 2 copies of Huakero. Huakero is a really cool 2-of in the deck that special summons itself to your side of the field as a trap monster that has 1800 attack points, which is really cool to be able to do. And if you control a copy of Eldlich the Golden Lord when this card is summoned to your side of the field, it actually lets you banish a card from your opponent's graveyard, which is a great ability. Also, during the end phase, you can manage this card from your graveyard and then set an Elixir spell trap directly from your deck to your side of the field, but you can only use 1 effect of this card per turn and only once that turn. We then play 3 copies of Conquistador. Conquistador is a great 3-of, because if you control Eldlich the Golden Lord when this card is activated, you actually get to pop a card on the field, which is a really cool ability. This card also special summons itself as a trap monster, which is a great thing about this card, which just helps us out a lot to be able to establish a good board presence. It also shares the ability, just like your copy of Huakero, that you can manage this card from the graveyard during the end phase to set an Eldlich or spell or trap from your deck to your side of the field, which is always going to be your copy of Scarlet that you're going to be putting on your side of the field. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to start off with 2 copies of Gustav Max. It's very easy to actually establish this card on your side of the field to do 2,000 points of burn damage, and this card is basically our cowboy for game, which is a really cool thing about this card, to do 2,000 points of burn damage to your opponent, especially with how easy it is to put level 10s on our side of the field. We then play a single copy of Juggernaut Lieb. You can make this card on top of your copy of Gustav Max, which you really only need a single copy of this card because it's so easy to make and OTK your opponent with, and you're probably only ever going to summon one anyways. We then play a single copy of Pleiades, because you can use your trap monsters to be able to make this card extremely easily to give you a bounce on the field, which is really nice. We then play a single copy of number 35. Number 35 is super easy to make in this deck so that we can rank it up into a copy of number 77. The same way that you would put a copy of Utopia or Utopia the Lightning on top of Utopia, you can make it this way so you can get a 4 material Zeus on your side of the field, because this will initially have 2 materials. This will be the 3rd material and the 4th material to make your copy of Zeus, which is just a great board wipe. Plus, it's super easy to make sure that you're going to go through with your attack, because this card comes out at 4,000 attack points, making it very easy to attack with this card and then make Zeus during the main phase too, which is really, really cool. We then play a single copy of Underworld Goddess. Underworld Goddess is very easy to summon in this deck, especially with how easy it is to swarm the field with our low-level Tistina monsters being able to bring themselves back from the graveyard, which is really, really good. We then play a single copy of Access Code to be able to pop cards on the field. Very good boss monster, very easy to summon in this deck. 1 copy of Blackluster Soldier, Soldier of Chaos. We play a lot of high-level monsters, so it's very easy to put a level 7 or higher monster into this card so it gets its bonus effects, which is really good about this card. Plus, if it destroys a monster by battle, it can either gain 1,500 attack points, make a second attack during the next battle phase of your next turn, or banish a card from the field non-targeting. We then play a single copy of Nightmare Unicorn to spin stuff, 1 copy of Nightmare Phoenix to pop spells and traps, 1 copy of the Light Charmer, because we can use our trap monsters to be able to make this card because they come out as light monsters, 1 copy of IP Masquerena, so we can step into a copy of Underworld Goddess during the opponent's turn, which is crazy powerful to be able to do, because Underworld Goddess is basically like a walking kaiju, or summon out Unicorn to spin stuff. And then finally, a single copy of Link Spider, just in case you need to get rid of one of your trap monsters. You can turn it into a Link Spider, which turns it into an effect monster, which is really, really cool. By linking it away for this card, it gets it in the graveyard, while also getting you a monster on your side of the field. So that's it for the deck, guys. I hope you did enjoy. This deck is super fun to be able to play. If you guys have never played Tistina Eldlich before, you should definitely give this deck a try, because it's super fun, it's super powerful, and it's just a really awesome deck. I can't wait to see what we get for Tistina later on, because this deck is going to be really, really fun. And just flipping cards face down, and it's a really, really good deck. So that's going to do for this one, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell in there so you can come part of our notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.